Well, a bill to potentially ban TikTok in the U.S. has passed in the Senate. The legislation will now force TikTok's China-based parent company, ByteDance, to sell the social media platform in the next year or face a potential ban. That bill will now go to President Joe Biden, who's already indicated he'd back the proposal. The move is expected to face legal challenges. TikTok, by the way, is used by 170 million Americans. But let's talk more about this morning. Joined live by tech expert Carmi Levy. Carmi, good to talk to you again this morning. TikTok, 170 million Americans, they could be pretty upset if ByteDance doesn't kind of bite on this bill. What is the response so far from ByteDance over this?
Oh, they're not happy. They've said they will sue to stop the bill from going ahead, and they will also pursue an injunction to buy themselves some time while they build their legal case. So it's never been done on a federal level, but they're already doing exactly the same thing in Montana, where a similar bill was passed last year, and they're fighting it in court there. So basically, they're going to take that playbook and then leverage it out here. Chinese government also saying transfer of technology not going to happen. The algorithm will not fall into American hands. Wouldn't be part of a potential deal, but they're going to fight it anyway as well. So they're already protesting. You have users who are protesting in front of the White House in Capitol Hill, essentially saying no, don't take our TikTok away. It is the core of a sub economy that's very important to a lot of Americans, generates a lot of revenue, allows a lot of people to pursue their careers, and so lots of opposition to this one. It is nowhere near a done deal.
And I'm surprised they even have to go to the White House. Couldn't they just put the picture up of the White House behind them and then dance with the sort of blurred out background, Carmi? But I want to talk about this. You talked about the Chinese government and ByteDance as well, because the allegation is that there's some information sharing and potentially secure information being shared back and forth here. Has ByteDance given definitive proof that that in fact is not happening? Because that seems to be at the crux and the core of what so much of this is about.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of smoke and mirrors suggesting that that might be happening. We've seen some leaked transcripts of meetings at ByteDance where they imply or infer that they've seen some data from American users, but there really hasn't been any kind of smoking gun evidence, and certainly ByteDance has denied that that is the case at every turn. And so, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, maybe it's happening, but we're not quite sure. But because it's a Chinese company, we still have to have our guard up. That's kind of where we're at. And that really does seem to be what's been driving this bill all along is we don't have definitive proof, but we're always going to be wary because of who we're dealing with.
Absolutely right. And we understand why, the background to that, Carmi. But the other question is, so this could affect 170 million American users of TikTok. I'm not sure what the numbers are in Canada. I'm guessing it's several million, though. And, do you think that a ban in the U.S. could have any spillover effect in Canada? And also, is there a way of circumventing it by perhaps getting a VPN and sort of not showing sort of where you are when you're using it?
I think we'd be naive to believe that it won't wash across the border and affect us tremendously. It absolutely will. If you think of the millions of Canadians who are users and the subset of those who are influencers who've built their careers on it, small businesses who use it to interact with their customers, with their supporters, and many of those customers are in fact in the U.S. And so take that away. It's become a very efficient platform of communication for them. They're forced to move to other platforms as well. So, no, it will have a huge impact. And I think Canadians really do owe it to themselves to ask themselves, if all of my eggs are in the TikTok basket, where else do I do? Where are my networks hanging out? What other platforms are they using? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Snapchat? What are the other tools? And start planning accordingly, because it's not going dark tomorrow, but it is getting closer from the horizon, and we really do have to be prepared for what might happen.
So, Carmi, do you see this as a potential opportunity then for Meta, which of course runs Facebook and Instagram and like you mentioned, Snapchat as well? Like there's all these other platforms available. If TikTok goes away here, they could benefit.
They absolutely could. And if you look, I look specifically at Instagram because over the last year and a half or so, they've been introducing a lot of features like Reels, like Stories that make it look a lot like TikTok, make it function a lot like TikTok. They've tweaked their algorithm to sort of drive virality in the same way that TikTok does. It's not quite there yet, but it's certainly moving in that direction. And so they've been preparing for this all along. I would expect them to be pushing even more engineering resources in that direction. And already we're seeing some audiences from TikTok, they cross-post to both, almost kind of like to hedge their bets.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense as the clock appears to be ticking on TikTok. Tech expert Carmi Levy, always appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Nick.